Alright folks, we left off with our pickups over here. You can press E, pick them up, Shift F1. I'm going to move this guy over. Okay. This is two clients. You can pick up a weapon. They can see each other with the weapon. Different type of weapon. And yet a third type of weapon. So what I want to do in this video is make it so that they can aim instead of just moving left to right. Alright, so we're going to have a aim offset, and they'll be able to aim. So let's go ahead and implement that. It should be pretty quick. There's a couple tricks though I wanted to show you. Before we do that though, I want to fix a problem with the collision on these pickups. They, if you notice, when the guy walks over them, he's kind of jumping up over them. That's just real annoying. We don't want that. So for right now, I'm just going to turn off the collision. And to do that, go ahead and select one of them. Go to open the blueprint editor, open full blueprint, and then just go to the parent right over here. And then that'll make sure you get the weapon pickup master, not the weapon actual master. Double click on that, make sure you're in the master, because that's the parent, and everything you do to it is going to affect all the others. So all you have to do, go over to the weapon mesh, scroll on down, and there's a preset for collision. You can make your own presets, but what we're going to do is we're going to change it from block all dynamic to no collision. Compile, save. There's a viewport just so you know what we're messing with. Save all. And press play. Okay, and now your character walks right on through there, and it's not so annoying. You know, we're going to do different things with that. It's not done, but it's getting there. So now on to your aim offset. Okay, so go into your character, and remember our shortcut for getting in there. Click on him, open your blueprint editor, get that nice and full screen, and let's think about what we got to do. So we want to make it so when our mouse moves up specifically, since if you notice the horizontal movement's pretty much covered. He's turning the way we would want him to. He's just not going vertical. So vertical movement is the one we're not capturing. We're not really doing anything with that. We're going to include the horizontal movement, but vertical is what we're after. So let's look toward our mouse inputs, and if you look over here, we have an input axis lookup. If you want to know where this comes from, it's always a good idea to refresh yourself here. Go to your main thing here, settings, project settings, input, and go to your axis mappings and your lookup. Mouse Y, it's the Y axis, that's what triggers it. So you can set that to whatever you want, but I don't know why in the world you would change it. Anyway, over to the third person character. I mean, you would add to it, right? So if you had a controller, you would want to have something different, but you might even use a whole nother input, like you could make your own input axis lookup rate. That's for the controller, I believe. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. So your lookup rate, we need to track this. And if you remember when we did the server, when we were turning and we wanted to capture that and replicate it, we're going to do something similar. I'm going to start moving just a little bit faster so we don't take forever on these videos. So let's start off by doing a custom event. Add custom event. Let's call it look up to server. All right. Remember to click on the thing, the custom event, go over to this drop down, run on server, and also make sure that it's reliable. Okay. Slide this over, and just like up here with the mouse turn, we're going to call it. So look up to server. All right, and it's going to go ahead and take a float value. So let's go ahead and put it in over here. Press the new parameter float, and we'll call it look up axis. Okay, so if you recall in the turn, we took the axis value and we plugged it into our turn, and then from our turn it came over here and it set this variable, and then the variable drove the animations. So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mark, I got this, no problem. I'll just run my axis right in here. We'll make a float variable called, I don't know, name whatever the heck you want. Call it look up axis. It's the same as the other one. We'll see if we can get away with it. And you're going to set it like that. And you're going to remember to replicate it. And then you're going to think, okay, compile, save. That looks pretty much like that. We're going to be good. There's a problem there. And this even got me. I'm going to leave it like this so you can see the end result. But it hung me up, so it might hang you up too. Let's continue on though, and let's go on to the animation blueprint so you can see what this is actually going to look like. So basically, what's happening in this scenario here is you're sending float data. So your mouse is moving up. It's sending this float value, which you remember is a value 1.2.3.4. It's not an integer. Its value is in between integers, or it could happen to land on a 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. But that's the type of number that's coming out of here, and that's all it is. It's just dumb data. When I first started, I used to think, oh man, there's some real complicated, majestic stuff going on here. No, that's just dumb data. It comes from over here from your mouse. I'm sorry, over here from your mouse. It runs through here, and it shoots into here, and it sets the value, and then it runs this function over here. But to get it to drive the animations, let's go into our mesh. Go to the anim blueprint by our shortcut right here, and then the third person anim BP. Double click on that. Let's go to, if you run over here to the, I think it's the event graph. Double click. This is getting messy. We're gonna eventually fix this. And here's the wonderful part about Unreal. If you didn't notice, it just hung up right there. I thought it was gonna crash. It didn't. Thank goodness. So let me drag off here. What did we name that? Look up axis. Okay, let's bring it down here. Look up axis, and we want to get lookup axis. And if you remember, all this does. This is that class we were just in, the one with our character. That's what this is. And we're accessing variables out of there. That's all we're doing. But to set them here on the animation blueprint, we need to make a variable for the animation blueprint. So just right click, promote to variable. And you can call it the same thing if you want to, because in C++ code, you would see the name of the class followed by the float, and so that's how they're two different things, right? I don't want to confuse you, but you can't have two variables with the same name unless they're coming from different classes. Okay, so if you were actually coding this up, you wouldn't see these two names by themselves. They would be prefixed by the class name, unless you're in that class, and then you wouldn't have to see the prefix. But anyway, once again, I'm getting off on a tangent. So connect this over here, and there you go. Now you have something that can drive your animations, but you actually have to tell it what animation, and that's our next part. So what we need to do, remember we're using the Rifle Anim Set Pro, which comes with blend spaces and aim offsets. Now remember, you don't have to buy the I'm not an advocate for this guy's Rifle Anim Set Pro, okay, but it just works. It's so easy. Everything's already set up. I mean, it's worth what, I don't know, $50-$60. You get it on sale, maybe half off during the holidays. Now I really sound like a salesman, but it just works for me. I use it for almost everything. And you can go to Mixamo.com, Mixamo, whatever, and you can find free animations there. But if you think these are bad, those are terrible. I mean, do what you want. That'll work. And then you just look up a tutorial on how to make an aim offset. And those are a dime a dozen. You can find millions of them. And there's tons of documentation on it. So there's no point in me really going over it. Anyway, double click on this. And remember, we deleted the Rifle Anim Set Pro skeleton. So when we do that and then we double click, it's like, where's my skeleton? Do we want to choose a new one? Yeah, we do. And remember how I prefixed my skeleton to make it really easy to find? I told you it'd get full. Type in Mark, and there, much easier. Click on right there, retarget, and it takes all the animations. So just like any other blend space, if you go in here, okay, don't restore. If you go in here, and I hope my head's not, well, I know my head's blocking the right side over here, but anyway, you can see right here, it's all the animations. If you hold shift to move around for the aim offset. That's what this is. That's all it is. Like I said, the aim offset itself is nothing special, but the little animation points in here are, and you can select on them and they'll tell you what they are. And you can't see it over here, but there's a little bank of animations, and you can drag and drop, and you can put whatever craziness you want in there, but I like it how it is with the default. So you have those retargeted. I'm going to save all. There they all are, the stars. Save selected. Go into your anim blueprint right here and your anim graph. Okay, so usually you're in this view right here. Go ahead and back out a little bit. This is as far back as you go. You click in here, you go into your state machine. Out here, it goes into your final animation pose. It kind of works. This is as high level as you can go on the animation. So anything you put here is the last thing in the chain and will affect everything. So we want to go to our asset browser, and we want to get the blue thing, which is the rifle stand anim, which is the thing we just retargeted. And right here, it's asking for our horizontal and vertical angle. Let's plug those in right here. And like I said, the horizontal doesn't really matter. Compile, save. Because we're using the controller rotation, or we're using the controller's desired rotation, I should say. And so when you turn, you don't really have enough time. It doesn't utilize those animations because your whole body turns instead of the waist turning. Now you can get really especially on your turn in place. You could get really intricate with your aiming, and maybe we'll do that later on. And you can see them turn at the waist. Some games do it, some games don't. But for right now, horizontal, we could put whatever we want in there. I'm going to use our, let's see, it's going to use our axis turn, get that, and throw that in there. And then for our vertical, I was just going to take this lookup axis, which is the one we just pulled over. Axis turn we used for the turn in place, actually. So get your lookup axis and plug it right on in here. Compile, save, file, save as. And if you do the lookup axis, eventually, there he goes. So now you have your up and down, and when you're turning, he'll be doing the leg motions. So that'll cover that. All right. So you come in, so you get all, excited. Looks like it's working. You come in here, you press play, and you got to look up, and stuff's not happening. Like, well, what the hell, Spent all that time figuring that out, and you did it exactly like the other one. Why didn't it work? Well, this isn't a replication issue as much as a calculation issue. So let's escape out of here. I thought at first it was replication. I even checked that. So go to your third person character right here, and I set you up for a disaster right away. I told you to plug this in here, but don't do that. That's what I did, or undo it. So just break that link. Now, this is the interesting thing about how we're going to do this. We're going to drive this. We're still going to leave it plugged in here because this looking up motion is what's going to drive this. It's going to tell it when to fire, when to make a calculation. So it's giving you the timing. We have that, but the actual number we're getting out of it's no good. To get the right float value, what we're going to do is we're going to use some of Unreal's pre-made functions that they put in. So just right click and say get control rotation, and then get actor rotation. Okay, so it's getting the rotation of the controller and it's getting the rotation of your actor, and they're set to self, so that's you. Then you're gonna call delta, another Unreal function. Well, not Unreal, it's used in many programming languages. And I'm not going to lie to you guys and act like I completely understand all of this. But from my limited understanding, this is a rotator, this is a rotator, and this spits out the difference of those rotators. Okay? Go ahead and look that up. I'm not going to do it justice explaining it to you. But it's getting your character's rotation and your controller's rotation and doing I believe it's a difference, and then it's going to spit out a value. Now from this value we don't need what it's going to give us. It's going to give us 3 values here. I'll just break it. Now what you do, you just drag off here and you type BreakRotator. Okay. And so your rotator consists of the roll, the pitch, and the yaw. Okay, your pitch is your up and down, yaw is back and forth, and I don't even know. So what you want is the pitch, because that's your up and down. Okay, so this is the value that's going to need to go into the lookup to server. Okay, so just plug that baby right in there, compile, save, file, save all. And if I did it right, which sometimes we get lucky. Okay, it's starting to look good. Shift F1, grab that, Windows left arrow, go ahead and pick on this. Now you can look up, look down. Okay, and now if I actually get a weapon in my hand, there you go. Now I got the AK. And see, now look at that. We're getting our leg motions. He's looking up. And our replication is happening. I'll do it with the other guy just so you can see. He comes over. Oh, I was staring at the wrong screen. He comes over here, grabs this guy, walks in front. He's got a little submachine gun. Remember, we'll adjust the hand positionings later on. And as I said, you could do fancy stuff with how they don't turn their legs right away. Maybe they'll turn at the waist a little bit and then they'll turn. And that might also be kind of a first-person thing we do, where it's turning at the waist because you're really going to notice it. Really, if this guy is shooting at you, you're not going to see a lot of that fine movement. So sometimes I've noticed games don't bother replicating that sort of stuff. But they'll definitely have this. You want your pitch in there, so you can aim up and you can aim down. Your AI is going to use that too when we put that in there. So escape out of there. Remember, always test dedicated, non-dedicated. I had it dedicated, so do a non-dedicated. Press play. Shift F1. Let's grab our server and go Windows left and click here. Server, it should always work. I mean, no problem. Client, what you want to do, make sure it's obviously working on your client, but go over to the server and make sure he sees you. Okay, and we're good. Okay, I mentioned this last video, the last video that we had, that we were going to go ahead and cycle through our inventory. If I remember and don't get sidetracked, that'll be the next video, so that way we can go through all these weapons instead of having to press Q to see what's in our inventory. But I think that's all I really needed to do. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's good. If you want, head into your animation blueprints. You might want to clean these up a little bit. You can do all sorts of stuff, getting things organized. But I think that's going to do it for today. See you on the next one.